So I kind of was trying to leave like certain aspects of the car to where it was still mobile. I could still start the engine and move it. But when I took the dash apart, I kind of finally realized like I've already passed the past the threshold of keeping this thing moving. And for me to just move forward, I need to keep tearing this thing apart. So I'm going to start working on what the options are of actually keeping this but modifying it to deal with the engine aftermarket parts, or starting from scratch and starting over, whichever. But I'm going to try to implement some stuff to take as many measurements as I can and try to get this to figure it out. Main thing is this is already big enough that it's next to the seat, and I don't really want to shrink the seat to so hopefully maybe I could accommodate and move around. Not sure if that's true or not. We're going to find out today. So I've seen other people do that, so it seems like that's the way to do it, but I know there's multiple different seats that also fit in this vehicle too, so at least two different types, and some seem almost like a fold-up seat that you would take to like a baseball game and put on a bleacher for back support. That's what it kind of reminded me of, where this is a full-blown seat. So we're going to try to implement some stuff. The interesting thing about this vehicle compared to the 33 that I did is, I complained the whole time I was building the 33 that there's not enough room in this car to do stuff. Now I see a few people put stereos in and speakers, and you're not putting speakers in the door if the windows are coming down, if you have windows and a hard top, or you're popping them out of the door so they're 3D coming out of the door. And that just seemed really hokey to me. Like it's too much weight holding on the door, because those are fiberglass doors. And with the air conditioner, it takes up 1/3 of the dash space, so the other third of the dash space is taken up by your pedals and your brake master cylinders, and then you have just a little area for all your computer controls. So if you're doing fuel injection, there's no space to put anything like a radio or anything. You barely have room to put your gauges in because of the master cylinder stuff behind the dash. So in this case, we have the opposite. We have all this space, this big, huge space. However, the dash is only like 2 inches thick. There's not much going on the dash. And so it's kind of like, this is how my buildings are that I have. I have all this space, but I have no closets. That's how I feel like this van is. I have all the space in the world, but I have no closets to put stuff in. So I have to see if I really want to do maybe a center console that will fit some stuff in here. Right now I don't feel like putting in air conditioning. I might keep the original heater. It's super bulky, so I'm not sure if I'm into that. And so if I'm going to get rid of that and get a smaller heater that's aftermarket, then it's like, well, why not just put an air conditioner in, because it's almost the same amount of space. So don't know on that stuff yet, but today we're going to just do all these measurements and kind of figure out where we're at. And basically that means I'm starting to tear down the engine. So I didn't know I was at that point, but I'm at that point, and I'm just going to keep going. So there you have it. You can see I got intake and exhaust manifold off. I was actually surprised I was able to get the exhaust off the manifold, but the clamp came off. That made it really easy. Pulled everything out as one. No broken bolts. Everything was nice. Nothing was super torqued down. It was easy to unbolt, actually. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it was good that nothing happened to the engine. Was it leaking? I have no idea. It didn't seem like it. However, this thing actually used to smoke a lot, but you know, you can see it's pretty oily too, so that could have been it. But yeah, so this engine is freaking tall, like super tall. I mean, if you look down there to the bottom of the oil pan, I don't know, 2.5 feet. I mean, that's pretty huge. Somewhere around 30 inches. That's a lot. That is a lot. Found the starter. There's the starter down there. So we are going to try to bolt on. We might have to take the exhaust off first, but we're going to try to bolt on the intake and new exhaust manifolds, and then get an idea of where this thing needs to be modified. And it might not be pretty, so we'll see. Here you can see the dilemma is, you know, this does not fit and that does not fit in the doghouse, so you have to extend it out. How far? Keep in mind that you also have the carburetor, and the carburetor probably comes out to here. I'll have to double check all those settings, specifications. But even the exhaust. Now I've heard people, this one goes straight down. I've heard people say you can modify this to get it to work on the front here, but that doesn't look, you'd have to weld on, cut off that and weld it on the other side so you have a bolt hole on this side, which actually is not a bad thing. Be coming out right here. Actually wouldn't be too bad. If I use this the way it is, then I have an exhaust system that will go right onto it. Pre-built, purchased Y pipe that hops right on there. However, does that Y pipe go straight down or does it come way out? So we're going to open that up and kind of see, because that seems a little crazy. You know, how big of a turn can we make here without clamping down? Or how small of a turn can we make? I got my trusty little ruler out. We're going to show you a little trick that I think will work pretty well. I measured 5 3/8 outside on the Offenheiser, and here's the bolts at 5 3/8. So I zoomed the picture in and out until I got that measurement, and then now I could go over here and see what the measurement is because they don't have any specs online. So now we're looking at around 6.5 plus an extra inch of clearance. All right, I was able to take the whole exhaust off. All I had to do was cut off the end that was curved because I couldn't get it around, but I was able to get the rest of it in one piece, which was good. Alright, so I have my Walker Y pipe right below here, trying to size up exactly how much this bend's going to come out. And it looks like we're safe to about here. We need at least this much clearance. And then my card fell off, but put our card back as I put rocks into my intake. Once we get my card lined up correctly, between those two, I'll be able to know how much I need to cut out the floor and how much this doghouse needs to be extended. Again, we're basing this on, we might fabricate this to just extend and keep the cool slope with the ribs. That's we're kind of just assuming at this point, but we know that if all else fails, we just redo everything and custom make it. But it would be nice to still use this item if we can. So I'm just really shocked, like it's probably less than a 1/2 inch clearance at the back. There's areas by the fuel pump and stuff that it's like 1/8 of an inch. It's just really the clearances on this are really tight, and that makes me a little skittish, a little nervous. You know, it's like one thing to have 1 inch behind the back of the engine, but you got like 1/4 of an inch. It's like, what could go wrong? So we need to drain the radiator. I tried to unscrew the thing down there, and nothing came out. So I think there's too much sediment where that's not working. So I'm just going to grab a hose and drop it, or maybe I could actually unscrew the part behind that, get it to start coming out. Another thing that this causes, so we're about 3 inches here, we're about 2.5 on the floor. However, that hole right there is the bolt for the back end of the seat right there. So we will have to fabricate something a little different on the seat to get that to come in a little bit. And we got to put the seat back in right now too, and kind of see where we are when it comes to extending this 3 inches and then bringing it back in.